discovered Ayase's story. Pound in the steak. I don't like that face they had on the little picture for that achievement. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. Don't like what is potentially on the way to be, that's coming for me. So, her search for the gate and the other Black Knights. The gate? Do you mean Stein's Gate? For they are soon summoned to the Holy Land. The Holy Land, you say? Are we about to Deus Volt our way into into this school, dude? What the frick? How's it going, everybody? HoodlaMutt here, back with some more Chaos Head Noah. And last time we finished Yua's ending. We got through her route. I actually quite enjoyed that one. I thought it was a nice little more somber but still wholesome ending. And so now we are moving to the Ayase route. And it looks like I have to go all the way to chapter 2 until there is a certain prompt that says, looked at me. So until I get there, I guess let's just get into this, shall we? Yep, alright, here it is. Okay, so for this particular delusion, we have to go negative, which we've already done. And then it's going to give me a series of yes or no questions again, at least I think. So I know I've already done this before, so I'm just going to zoom through this and then wait until it gets to the questions. Oh, never mind. Interesting. That didn't have any of the other that I thought it was going to have. Okay. I guess we'll read this then. Yeah, it didn't show any of the other stuff. Last time she went all naked, remember? I'm pretty sure. I think that was the negative route, wasn't it? Oh. Okay, maybe I didn't do this and I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I did do the negative, though. I don't think I did the positive one. No, I didn't know the positive one is that one, right? But I think I did negative too. I don't remember. So anyway, I guess we're here. So let's just read through this and see where it takes us. Before I knew it, I was slowly walking on the rooftop all alone. The wind was extremely strong, blowing raindrops into me from the side. What was strange, though, was that I didn't feel cold. I remembered this place. It felt like I had been there many times before. Oh, I knew where it was now. This dreary scenery surrounded by a fence. It was the school rooftop. I took a look around me. But the rain had made everything so hazy, I couldn't make anything out. It was surreal. It felt like the world itself had become blurred. Oh, hello? Interesting. Beyond the haze, on the other side of the fence, was Fess. She was standing there facing me, and she was soaking wet. She was looking straight at me, just like at the concert. And in her right arm, just like before, she was gripping that sword-like mic stand tightly. The wind blowing from below sent Fess's soaked hair fluttering furiously in the air. If she even slightly lost her balance, she would definitely fall. And at this height, that would be a death sentence. Just looking at her made me stop dead in my tracks. And yet, despite where she was, Fess stood tall, without the slightest hint of fear in her eyes. On the verge of tears, Fess gently extended her left hand toward me. Let's jump off. Together. It was almost as if she was asking me to go with her, trying to seduce me. Oh. Fess must be asking me for salvation. Right, okay, so I have to answer yes. Okay. I want to give in to Fess's seduction. No. I'm sure jumping off would feel amazing. Yes, apparently. I don't care if I die, as long as it's together with Fess. Yes, apparently. I want to be set free from everything. And yes, apparently. Oh, discovered Ayase's story. Pound in the steak. I don't like that face they had on the little picture for that achievement. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. Don't like what is potentially on the way to be, that's coming for me. So, anyway. I couldn't give any response. I had no idea what to do. Fess said nothing back to me either. She just spread her arms out wide, taking on a pose as if she'd been crucified. Suddenly, the rain and the wind stopped. I tried to say something, but I couldn't make a sound. Nothing would come out of my mouth. Okay. Fess's body slowly tilted backward. Everything seemed to be happening in slow motion. I tried to reach out toward Fess, but my own movements were in slow motion too, so I could only look on in frustration as my arms slowly extended out in front of me. Fess was already closing her eyes, and not long after, her figure disappeared from my line of sight. Oh! Oh no! Gosh, that's depressing. I'd been getting lost in my own delusions as usual, but it all gone south pretty quickly. Well, that just goes to show how strong the aura Fess gave off truly was. She sort of had this sense of ruinous beauty to her. That said, I didn't have the slightest freaking clue what ruinous beauty was supposed to mean, though. Whoa. Okay. Saws. Lamau. Gosh. He's so cringe. In the end, I got sick from the size of the crowd at that concert, so I had to rush to leave the venue. As a result, I'd barely watched any of the performance at all. And honestly, I never wanted to go ever again. Well then, guess I'll log on to ESO or something. That ought to rid me of this depression. Interesting. Right, so this is, I think, we can skip this, right? Yup, okay, so this is all the same now. So, interesting. Okay, so I feel like I ran into that before, though, where we were on the rooftop with her. But I don't remember that clothing choice she had, so I can't remember if I ever did the negative route or not. Maybe I only ever did positive and neutral, and I didn't do negative, but I thought I did. So maybe it changed after we finished the first ending? I have no idea. Maybe editing me will know. But anyway, until then, let's. It says that we have, in a similar fashion to the other routes, we will have related intermissions spread throughout. So I guess we'll wait until we run into one of those. I'm having a really hard time right now. I'm getting like tongue twisted like crazy right now. I don't know why. Anyway, until then, I guess I'll see you in a second then. Oh, okay, we got paused here. All right, so let's see where this takes us. As morning progressed, Kishimoto Ayase stood before the school gate, watching the sky absent-mindedly. Okay, so we're with Ayase right now. All right, all right. Students passed by on either side, and she paid no attention to the strange looks she received from them. Her gaze was full of emptiness. From her perspective, school was utterly pointless. Her reasoning being, she knew the world would end very soon. Interesting. Okay, so they're going. See, and this is the thing with Ayase that we've had through the whole thing, right? Is that seemingly, anyway, she's been a metaphor that's kind of been based in Christianity a little bit there because of the whole end of the world, mindset. I feel like that's a very Christian mindset. You don't really see that in any other religion, at least not to any other at least to my knowledge, let's put it that way. I can't think of any of the other ones that do it quite the same way. So it's interesting that she's, following in that kind of a footstep. Again, it's like, I just noticed that, like, throughout the whole story, it's been, they have the crucifying element, they have the whole Messiah element that they then put into Steins Gate later. Kind of interesting. So I'm very curious what exactly they want to do with that. One of you in the comments mentioned something about, I'm trying to remember exactly how you worded it. I might have to put it in text because I can't remember right now. It was something like, it's more like the writers are using the symbolism of like not even just Christianity specifically, but like God in general, something like that. And so I'm just curious, like what they're actually trying to do. If I don't know, I'm curious if I'll ever get closure. You know what I mean, on that whole element. So maybe in this route. But if not in this route, I don't know if we'll ever see. So, anyway. Even as a third year, she felt out of place wearing a school uniform. This was no time to be attending school. So she believed. Still, she occasionally went in order to continue her search. Her search for the gate. And the other Black Knights. The gate? Do you mean Steins Gate? Yo, what the heck? Did she say she was looking for a gate before? I didn't remember that. Huh. Yeah, I don't remember her looking for a gate. I remember the Knights of Gladiol, the freaking like D-sword type stuff, but not anything about a gate, at least to my recollection. So interesting. Suime Academy was the place where the Black Knights would gather. Or rather, it was the place where they would be gathered. That was the conclusion she had reached. From a young age, Ayase had been seen as a problem child. She never finished middle school, thus preventing her from enrolling in high school. In spite of this, she transferred into Suime Academy during May of her first year. A day she remembered vividly, even now. She had stood before the gate on that day, just as she was now. Until then, she had been institutionalized by Arkhart Medical. During that time, she endured a hellish trial in order to become a Black Knight. 1 month of psychiatric treatment later, she was finally discharged. The hospital's director, a man whose name she had long since forgotten, spoke to her at that time. That has to be Suwa, right? Probably. It was a director though, right? So if it's a director, that can't be Hazuki unless she was wearing multiple hats in this whole endeavor. So it seems like it makes more sense that she was not the person she's talking about. It's got to be Suwa. It's got to be. Starting tomorrow, You'll be attending high school in Shibuya at Suimei Academy. I've done all the work needed to enroll you already. She was not told why. Those words still in her mind, the day she had arrived before the school gate, she murmured something to herself. The heavens shall be dyed in red by the quickening of the wicked-hearted king. 7 dark, wicked hearts shall face birth in concord with this hour, for they are soon summoned to the Holy Land. The Holy Land, you say? Are we about to Deus Volt our way into into this school, dude? What the frick? Yo, we're all gonna like the final ending's gonna be all of us freaking running in like it's the Crusades to destroy freaking Noah 2, dude. We're all gonna have D-swords, all 7 of the characters, dude. It's gonna be crazy. And it will come to pass, O nightmares, O calamities, O darkened cadavers torn asunder, that wicked hearts shall slay one another, and so will be shattered the world under the wicked-hearted king's dominion. They were verses of the legend of the Gladiol Book of Psalms and Revelation, a prophecy Ayase had taken to heart. One she uttered only because she knew now for certain this was the gathering place of the Black Knights. Thus, she would continue waiting. Thus, she would continue searching. And as time passed, she had never felt a single trace of wickedness. Until now. At last, she could sense a presence. The presence of a potential Black Knight. Dude, the whole, like, wicked thing and the, like, wicked king and wicked everything, it's very, very, like, typical Chinibyo trope. I love that. It's so funny. It also, like, leads credence, too, because it's obviously going to be real to some degree, right? Whatever that means, all the stuff she's talking about. And so it's like, right now, at this point in the story, she'd be like, everyone would look at her and be like, she's such a Chinibyo, dude. Just like freaking, Okabe, but then she's gonna end up being right, and then it's gonna be real and all that crap. But I love how it's like her truth, the truth she's probably saying is like hidden beneath the, you know, oldest time trope of Chinibyo-ness with the whole wickedness. Like it's using the specific wording, you know what I mean? It's not even just like acting Chinibyo, because I would say like Okabe acts Chinibyo, but he doesn't. Well, he does use wicked right arm, I guess. That one technically counts. That's the one you hear a lot in anime. But for the most part, you know, he kind of has his own spin on the whole trope. So it's just kind of funny how on the nose the use of the trope is with Ayase. Because I have a feeling that's going to be the whole, like, pulling the rug out from underneath everyone. Is it's going to be like, she was right, oh no. So I guess we'll see. It had certainly kept her waiting, but the change was wholly a welcome one. Time is already growing short. Gladiol's resurrection is almost upon us. Her words a faint, quiet murmur. Another Black Knight. With this thought, Ayase passed through the gate, seeking the boy she had met at the concert venue. Interesting. Okay. And then now we're going to be back in Takami, right? Yeah? Because this is when, okay, and it's just speeding through on its own. So this is when we must, because she's right there, and she ignores Miss Mikun and tells us to figure out how to get our sword, right? Okay, so, interesting. Oh, okay, so it stopped me right here. So, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling this is going to be where everything splits off, because it said we would split off in Chapter 7. I believe we are in Chapter 7 now, so let's see where this takes us. According to the minimum attendance chart, I didn't have to go to school today. But despite that, I came to school anyway for one reason, and one reason only. To see Demi. I had no doubt that the DQNs in class would make fun of me, just like they always did. It would definitely suck, but if it meant I could see Dimi, I could endure it. It was also possible that Shogun could show up again. He seemed to be playing with me like it was some kind of game after all. Maybe he'd feel like sending me on another quest soon. Just the thought alone terrified me. I'd try to grasp my D-sword, but even that was just to protect myself from him. Without that sword, how could I ever hope to escape his evil clutches? Maybe if Dimi was by my side, like she said she would be. But she'd been absent from school lately, which worried me. What if she'd been taken hostage, just like Nanami? Was there anyone out there who could help me? I entered the classroom with my head pointed straight at the floor. Before taking my seat, I took a quick look around. I looked toward Dimi's seat first. Empty. Was she taking today off too? Was it really that simple? Was she really just taking time off? I began to feel anxious. Next, I looked over at Kozupi's desk. She was in her seat, face down and huddled up.
Morning, Takumi-san.
Morning, Kozupi. I didn't make eye contact, but I greeted her with my inner voice. The female DQNs were watching me, smirking. Witches. It was no different than yesterday. They'd all already labeled me as that otaku freak that said he was a psychic and made a fool of himself on TV, and that label wasn't going away anytime soon. The male DQNs didn't seem to have arrived yet. It was pretty common for them to skip first period, and that was fine by me. I took my seat. Suddenly, someone clapped me on the back. What up, Taku? It was Miss Mikun, with an uncomfortable look on his face. His slap was a lot weaker than usual. You certainly had no issues ignoring me before. Why start paying attention to me now, all of a sudden? I'm sure that you'll regret talking to me. You'll become the DQN's next target, just like me. Yeah, Miss Mikun, even you. You'd be better off not associating with an otaku freak like me. I remained silent, but Miss Mikun forced a smile. That's right, we never did have that, by the way. We never had the whole psychic thing resolved, right? We just kind of like flew over that. We didn't really like sit on it and talk about it at all. I wonder why. You know, because like apparently we went on TV, said we were a psychic, and we went by like a different name, I think, if I remember correctly, or something. And it was mentioned in the first route, definitely, and then we just kind of like skipped over it. So it's like, when is that going to come up again? I wonder if that's going to be like a true ending reveal thingy or something. Well, don't you look like crap? You already this worn out this early in the morning? Well, I know you're just that kind of guy. As harsh as his words were, I didn't get the feeling that he was joking or acting sarcastic. After all, it was pretty common for him to say stuff like that. And about before. Sorry about that. I had to hold on to whatever social cred I could, you know? You understand. Forget that, though. From now on, I'll treat you like I always have. All right, good talk. He had an indifferent expression on his face. You seriously want to keep talking with me? Same as always? Do you actually enjoy hanging out with an otaku freak like me? Even though there's nothing to gain from it? Crap. I was actually getting wet now. If Miss Mikun wanted to screw me in the rear right then, I probably wouldn't have been able to say no. Dude, gosh, I hate this. I forgot about this part. Why? Well, to be honest, I just figure being nice to you will help me stay popular with the ladies. He's kind enough to keep talking to human trash like him. What a dreamboat. Swoon. You know? Miss Mikun Daisuke. Go die in a hole. And to think I was this close to falling for you. Full homo. Gosh. Why? If you just didn't open your stupid mouth, nobody would have ever realized you were such a narcissist. Worst of all, as if I even needed to say it, was that it was totally in character. He was being completely sincere. And so, I finally cracked. My lips curved into a bitter smile. Oh yeah, did you hear about Kishimoto? Apparently, she's still in the hospital. Her injuries weren't all that bad, but she's pretty messed up in the head. Listen up, Taku. You want to know the fastest way to a woman's heart? Act like you care in her moment of weakness. Gosh, so scummy, dude. So, on that note, I'm seriously thinking about paying Kishimoto a visit. Oh yeah, and while we're at it, Taku, you know Kishimoto, right? You mind coming with me? Uh-huh. It was the typical subject matter for Miss Mikun, but that was beside the point. He'd mentioned Ayase. With Bimi gone, maybe she was someone I could turn to. Maybe I could depend on someone like her. Okay. So I wonder, can I skip this? Okay, I can skip this. Interesting. All right. Oh, okay, but it stopped me right here. Okay, so what is this then? Yeah, okay. So that last bit we'd already seen before, that was just Takumi freaking out about the 7th case and being like, who killed them? Was it me or was it... No, it had to be Kozupi and all that crap, so... And people were just talking about it, so we've already seen that. I don't know why it paused me there, but now, this looks like this is new. So, let's see what it is. Because Ayase wasn't here, right, when we showed up, just her sword. So, I wonder where she went. Kishimoto Ayase was lying in a hospital bed, idly gazing out the window. No bars lined the outside of it, a fact which set it apart from those at Arc Heart Medical, where Ayase had stayed in the past. All that stood past the window's frame was the landscape of Shinjuku, decorated by skyscrapers and illuminated by the sunset. Flocks of pigeons soared freely through the sky, flapping their wings to their heart's content. Every now and then, she would gaze upon this sight with a pained expression. Her slightly tired eyes were empty and bleak. Her irises reflected nothing. Her lips, which could let flow a voice so beautiful it shook the youth of Shibuya, were now sealed tight. Not even so much as a hum escaped from them. Following her suicide attempt, an event which caused quite the turmoil, she had been admitted to the psychiatric ward of a large hospital in Yoyogi. Her injuries were already very nearly healed. According to the doctors, it had been nothing short of a miracle that she'd been able to survive a fall from that height, let alone with barely even a scratch. However, she had indeed hit her head fairly hard, and as such, she had been rushed to the hospital, primarily so they could see how the situation would develop. It had already been over a week since then. However, despite her having been admitted for such a reason, All it seemed to entail was a few rudimentary tests taken every couple of days or so. Beyond that, she had been rather neglected. Her hospital room was private, with no other beds inside it. Ever since her stay had begun, her D-sword had been leaning against the window. It constantly emitted a blue light, yet nobody who visited her ever seemed to notice. Not that there had been many visitors to begin with. Phantasm fans would attempt to force their way into her room daily, but as they always caused a disturbance in the process, the hospital had an excuse to forbid them from visiting her. And since Ayase was somewhat detached from her family, there were almost no others who came to visit her. Her fellow band members had made an appearance once, but Ayase used that opportunity to announce her decision for the band to break up. They had not contacted her since then. No, I'm kind of remembering we did do this, I'm pretty sure. I remember reading some of this before, so this also isn't new. So did we see what happened to her? I didn't think we saw where she went. Interesting.
Kishimoto-san, did your thermometer beep?
A nurse wearing white scrubs opened the door to the room, then swiftly entered. Ayase slowly turned to look at the nurse's face, then took out the thermometer that had been resting under her arm. It was as if she had only just remembered its presence. The nurse took a look at the recorded temperature shown on its digital screen, then took note of it on the clipboard she had brought with her.
37.1 degrees Celsius. You have a very slight fever. My head hurts.
Ayase grimaced in pain once again.
Oh dear, is your headache back? I'm afraid that's just a side effect of the medicine we gave you. It'll be gone before long, so try your best to ignore it.
Having recorded her temperature, the nurse consoled Ayase with a kind smile. Her expression was so gentle. It was clear to all how she was able to put her patients at ease. And yet, despite the nurse's attempts, Ayase simply pushed her hand against her forehead as she shook it back and forth. Ayase had been plagued by mild headaches ever since she had first been hospitalized. They were not especially painful, but they still left her with an uncomfortable feeling that refused to go away. One that felt as if her brain itself was convulsing. It even reached the point where her ability to think was impaired. As well as this, her body would feel as heavy as lead. Ayase had experienced such symptoms in the past, namely, when she had been institutionalized at Arkhart Medical. It's because it's the same place, or at least run by the same people, right? Back then, her head had constantly been split apart by painful headaches, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It deprived her of all sleep and emotional stability. Those were the memories she did not want to resurface. The past she had sealed away, the events of around 2 years ago. And yet, her headache was causing them to flash back into her mind once more. Right, all this again, yeah. Oh no. In them, a dark room, its single window locked behind bars. Apart from the wall in which that window stood, the rest of the walls were covered with mirrors. Ayase had been placed in the center of the room, sat in a crude steel chair. She was wearing headgear with countless cables protruding from it. Her hands were tied to the back of the chair. Her head was locked in place, with her chin tilted slightly upward. Not another soul was present in the room. Thus, All that could be heard were the sounds of Ayase's labored breathing and the metal groans of the chair she sat upon. Saliva trickled down from the corners of her mouth, accompanied by moans akin to those of a beast's. If anyone were to hear them, they would never have been able to guess that they would be coming from a girl as young as her.
Kill me! Kill me!
She was being tortured. Slow, methodical torture. One that made very, very little sound. The method only involved one single thing. Not even an action. A drop of water falling from above onto her forehead every 5 seconds on the exact same spot. That was all it took. And it would continue unrelentingly for 2 full days. The result? Ayase could think only of the drop that would fall next. Her senses were sharpened to their limits. And each time a drop fell on her forehead, another hallucination would be born. One in which each and every nerve across her body was plucked out one by one. One in which the bones of her entire skeleton crumbled to dust. One in which her head was pierced by a long, sharp awl. One in which all liquids within her body, including her blood, froze to ice. One in which the skin lining her entire body slowly rotted away, before eventually peeling off. Assailed without end by these sensations, Ayase could no longer maintain her sanity. Returning to her senses, she breathed erratically as she tightly gripped the sheets lining the bed. Her body trembled as those dark memories of hers resurfaced in her mind. The nurse that had been in her room just a moment ago was already gone. Dinner time had just arrived at the hospital, and the clamorous sounds that came from it resounded from down the hall. Ayase tried to recall the words the nurse had spoken to her right before leaving. Was her headache really just a side effect of the drugs she was on? Or had it been caused by her hitting her head, perhaps? Or perhaps it was just a hallucination brought forth by her past memories. She was unable to come to a decisive conclusion. Wiping away the sweat that ran down her forehead, Ayase called forth a smile laced with self-loathing.
It matters not. It is in the past. For I endured and survived my divine punishment. I will not let it control me anymore.
Murmuring in perhaps delirium, Ayase soon became aware of a sound reverberating throughout the hall. The comforting sound of shoes stepping on the linoleum floor. It was certainly not being made by a nurse, and the sound of footsteps was heading right for the room she was in. Oh yeah, this is when she talks to Suwa, right? Someone knocked on her door, and she sealed her lips tight. So can I skip it then? Because I'm pretty sure I know. No, it won't let me. Excuse me. That someone was but a single man. He had come bringing gifts, namely a large basket filled with all manner of fruits. She could recognize the man, which was far from a good sign. Thus, she stared at him with a dubious glare. Hi there. Oh, no need to be on edge, you know. I know who you are. The man was a detective at the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. He had once shadowed Ayase, and she was originally a suspect for the New-Gen case. The detective, relieved by her response, scratched his head. His demeanor was unendingly casual. Oh wow, that's an ego boost. I'm so glad that such a pretty lady like you remembers little old me. You really have a good memory, huh? I'm impressed. The detective moved closer to her bed. Ayase briefly glanced at her D-sword leaning against the window. It lay just outside her reach. I just dropped by to check up on you. I do not believe you. What is your objective? Yikes. Talk about straight to the point. The detective flinched very overtly, his reaction perhaps bordering on theatrical. Well, I just had a little something to ask you, Ayase-chan. Ah, right. I brought this. If you're up to it, you should really eat. The detective smiled innocently, presented the basket he had brought with him, then placed it at Ayase's feet without waiting for approval. They're super tasty. And expensive, too. Boo-hoo-hoo. I do not want it. Oh, come on. Let a guy show you some hospitality. I brought them just for you, you know. Well, I don't mind if you leave them for when your mom visits. She can cut up a few slices for you then. Oh, shoot. It's been years since you last saw your parents, hasn't it, Ayase-chan? Despite the detective's insensitive remark, Ayase felt nothing in response to it. Her ties to her parents had been cut from a very young age. Her parents had a reputation to uphold, so a child that often caused problems like Ayase had been inconvenient to them, to say the least. Her only remaining contact with them was the wire transfer she received for her living expenses each month, though it could hardly be called that. I'm really sorry. The detective apologized, bowing down hastily. Ayase had only just gotten over the shock caused by her flashback, so she was in no mood to speak with him. Nonetheless, she urged herself to talk all the same. What is it you wanted to ask? Do you wish for an alibi? Not at all. We've already talked enough about that. No, I'm happy to announce that you're no longer considered a suspect, Ayase-chan. You're totally in the clear, I promise. Have you learned of their motive? The culprits? Sorry, but I can't tell you that. It's a confidential part of the investigation. Is it Takumi? Can't confirm or deny. The detective smirked. He was attempting to laugh the question away. And yet, something unrefined could be seen through the cracks of that smile. That said, Nishijo-kun sure is a weird kid, isn't he? You wouldn't really suspect him of being a killer based on how he looks. If he really is the culprit, then he's way too good at hiding his true intentions. The guy would have to be a demon to be that good. Is he still a suspect? Nah, not really. The detective casually denied it with a smile, putting Ayase's persistent questions to rest. Oh, you didn't hear that from me, though. My supervisors will get real mad at me if they find out I leaked any info. Not that I would blame them. Besides, I only just got off the hot seat with my superior. I think you met him once before. You remember him, Ayase-chan? Bonsan? The detective with the scruffy black hair and the stubble? Ayase did remember him. When she had been questioned, that older detective had been even more talkative than the younger one she was conversing with now. His way of speaking had been a lot more assertive as well. He's always pretty quick to yell at me. I swear, I can't go one shift without him calling me a schmuck. Though, I don't know why I'm the schmuck when he's the one going off on these wild goose chases instead of just investigating what we were assigned to do. And as the sweet cherry on top, he's been forcing me to go along with him for all of it. Feels like I'm gonna lose my mind if this keeps up. Well, I'm sure he's a good guy at heart, and his intuition is razor sharp. From what I've heard, he's had to lead some pretty difficult cases in the past, so that's probably why he's turned so hard-boiled.
Is this what you wish to talk about? Why you came here?
Ayase interrupted the man, and his smile quickly soured. Oh, sorry. I got a little sidetracked. Please, keep everything I just told you a secret. Do this, and I, Suwa Mamoru, will be indebted to you for the rest of my life.
So?
For starters, why'd you do it? Despite his ambiguous phrasing, Ayase could tell that he was referring to her diving off the school rooftop.
I already explained why several times to the other detective.
To avert the resurrection of the wicked-hearted King Gladiol, right?
I did not do it with the intention to die. I did it merely to ascend my spirit to a higher stage.
You said something similar about your songs too, yeah? The ones that are pretty popular with the kids your age? And that was the second question he had for her. Ayase let out a faint sigh.
Those lyrics were not about New Gen in the slightest. I merely wrote them based on the Gladiol Book of Psalms and Revelation, Chapter 3, Verse 102. The arrival of the wicked-hearted King Gladiol is nigh. This world shall soon know his presence. Only with 7 stakes forged in blackened blood, shed by Gladiol himself, may his resurrection be averted. The stakes shall be reforged into swords, and the swords shall be bestowed upon the 7 black knights who withstood divine punishment itself. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. For only mortals burdened with wicked hearts may overthrow the wicked-hearted king.
Wow, that sounds like something straight out of a movie. I love me a crazy epic storyline like that. Ayase glared at the detective in response to his comment.
It is not some sort of storyline. It is reality.
Well then, I've got one more question for you. The detective casually brushed away Ayase's objection, though she was all too used to this form of dismissal by now. Not a single person she had told this story to thus far had believed it. You know, we've investigated a whole lot of other students at Suime other than you and Nishijo-kun. And, well... The detective mumbled to himself as he folded his arms. This was very obviously another act of theatrics, and Ayase had no intention of commenting on it.
What is it?
Well, this is gonna sound a little crazy. And it's not something a detective should be asking, really. And it's kinda childish, if I'm being honest.
I see. If you do not intend to ask me something, then take your leave. My head hurts.
Oh, okay, wait, what I was trying to say is, Bonsan said something really weird once. That you guys must be wizards or something. Upon hearing that the subject of that remark was plural, Ayase raised her eyebrows in suspicion. That's obviously not true, right?
We are.
As she replied, Ayase's line of sight was directed not toward the man, but toward her hand that lay atop her bed sheets. Right, so the wizard element is because Suwa needed a machine to make him be able to do delusions, whereas Ayase and Takumi and all the other kids are, they can just do it by thought alone. They don't need a machine, right? So that was probably information he's trying to get from her to see how to probably combat it, right? Because he's like, man, if they're wizards, then that's gotta, that's puts a wrench in things, probably, right? Maybe? I don't know. You're a very interesting girl, Ayase-chan.
But New Gen is wholly unrelated to the Knights of Gladiol.
Gotcha.
Well, not that it really matters either way.
The detective, completely disinterested in what Ayase had to say, brushed off her words once again, then began to stretch. The moment he did so, a digital sound suddenly cut through the silence of the room. The detective, surprised by this interruption, reached into the pocket of his suit and took out his cell phone.
Oh, geez. Cell phones aren't allowed in here, huh? Shoot, I must have forgotten to power it off. Oh, man. And it looks like a certain girl's calling me. It's my lovely girlfriend. We've been together for 4 years now. Can you believe it?
See, so I didn't know what that meant before, but it actually literally was his girlfriend. That's kind of crazy. Okay.
He turned his phone off with a grin, forcing the caller to hang up. He then turned to Ayase once more. You a movie buff, Ayase-chan? Ever heard of Spark Wars? My ringtone's the Count Darth Spider theme from the movie, aka the thing you just heard.
Ayase had no interest in movies, nor anything of the sort. Having long since decided that she had no obligation to further entertain the detective's questioning, she returned to gazing silently outside the window.
To be honest, I'm kind of a Spark Wars superfan.
Oh, but judging from,
that, you're probably not interested. Sorry.
Well, guess I'll get out of your hair now. See ya. With that, the detective concluded the conversation with which he had no partner, then left the hospital room. Ayase did not even turn around to watch him go. With the man gone, all that reflected in her eyes was the twilight sky slowly turning indigo.